You, you really shouldn't start keto if you're not emotionally ready. And I feel like a lot of people do though. They jump in before they're ready. And so I think if you're hesitant that you might not stick to this new way of eating, that's going to create a problem. And if you're hesitant about whether or not it might be able to work for you, that's going to create a problem. It's going to create a problem in your ability to be focused on what you're doing. So when I learned about keto, which was February of 2018, like the beginning of February, I didn't believe it. I thought, first of all, I thought there was no way that the inflammation that my body was living was due to eating too much sugar, because I'd never heard that before. But I also didn't believe that all these other medical problems they were talking about could be happening because we are eating too much. Like that concept, I didn't get. And then I did more research, and then I found and watched a few keto doctors, the first one being Dr. Westman, followed by Dr. Berg, and then Dr. Berry. Those were the top three at the time when I was learning about this, all saying that your health problems were being caused by the amount of sugar that you... So it took me time. I didn't start my keto lifestyle until April 18th, 2018. So that's a full 2 months and a bit, right? February, March, April. Yeah. Now, the other thing that I will say is I'm lucky because I was not on any medication. But another reason that you should not, as a matter of fact, I think it's the most important reason that you should not start a keto diet, is that you're on medication, because keto absolutely will change the way your medication works. You see, keto is going to have an impact on your hormones. It's going to have an impact on your body functioning and your weight, which affects how much of the medication you should be taking in the first place. So it's going to impact your medication. So you should have the help of a keto-friendly doctor while you're doing keto. And while you're waiting for that assistance, I think is a very reasonable reason not to start keto. But let's look at that emotional side of the puzzle. Like that I'm not ready yet because I don't know if it's going to work, or especially if I don't know exactly what it is, which for me was the beginning part of that too. Like I didn't know exactly what it meant to be doing a keto diet. And I want you to do research. That's the first part. Like you need to look at what it means. So a keto diet is when you are eating less than 20 grams of carbs to get into a ketogenic state. So I want to make something really clear. Eating less than 20 grams of carbs is the typical advice we get of what a keto diet is. But in fairness, if I could be in a ketogenic state eating 80 grams of carbs, then I'm doing a keto diet. And if I could be in a ketogenic state, but I have to eat, 5 grams of carbs, I'm still doing a keto diet. So I think one of the things that's really interesting to me is that we look at keto as how much we're eating and what we're eating, and we forget that it's actually about being in a ketogenic state. So, for example, if I have a teenager or a 10-year-old who's perfectly metabolically healthy because they've been eating healthy their entire life, then yes, they could be eating healthy fats and protein with healthy vegetables. And if that's what I fed them their entire life, they could be doing 80, 100 grams of carbohydrate and still be in a ketogenic state because they don't have damage. So I want us to kind of understand that the reason that the majority of us need to be under 20 grams is actually because we have such metabolic damage. Because for myself, at 40, how much was I can't remember right now, 40 something years old, my hip was so inflamed that I couldn't walk. My joints were all inflamed. I was in pain all the time. My back, my neck, everything. So I had so much hip pain, joint pain, but my joint pain had started when I was 20, like 22, 23. So in my 40s, when my hip started going, well, that's 20 years that I was already in a negative metabolic state. Clearly, I was not in a healthy state. So I would need, and I do need to be even less than 20 grams. I'm at I max out at 18. So that's the first thing I want to do is that we need to do our research. But then after we've done our research and we now understand what a ketogenic diet is, then the question is, what does that mean for what I will eat each day? So I understand what it is. I have to eat less than 20 grams of carbs, but then what foods will I, so that means more research because I had to find out what foods can I actually eat that will help me to stay in this 20 grams of carbs or less, likely because most of us are metabolically challenged. And if I accomplish that, then I'll be on my way to eating healthy. Now, the problem that I see here is that a lot of people don't want to do the research. They want myself or another person who's doing keto to tell them what to eat. So they want a food list or some help with how to, and honestly, I want to tell you that I see that as a bit of a mistake, right? If you don't think you can start this diet by doing your own research and figuring out what food you're going to eat, but I'm going to come back to that. So people want food guides. Then if you want a food guide, that's probably a reason for you not to start yet. If you're not willing to work out your own answer, because if I don't work out my own answer, my answer is going to be meaningless to me. So that means that if I'm in a novel situation, so I have a food guide, but now I'm in a novel situation, I won't be able to understand what do I need to do. So what do I need to eat to move forward? Because I don't know for myself what I'm supposed to eat. So now what happens if I get a food guide, and I don't like the foods that's on the meal plan? Because I can tell you, I've seen a lot of food guides, and there's foods on there I don't like. Again, chances are I'm not going to start, right? That's going to look like a roadblock to me because I'm not going to like my foods, and I'm still on a standard diet where I like my foods. Chances are I won't start. So the roadblocks you might encounter when you start eating keto, so let's say you start eating this diet, but you're still emotionally, you're not really, well then what about eating out? Right? Like how am I going to manage when I go out to a restaurant and the things on the diet, the things on the menu are normal. So I'm looking at foods that I'm trying to choose, what am I eating today? But everything has rice and potatoes and, pasta and all the fun stuff. And what am I going to do when I realize that my family eats differently than I do? Right? Like my spouse is not doing this. That was my story at the beginning. I was eating keto. The kids and Pat were eating normal foods. So how do we manage that? What about when there's parties or celebrations? Because, we have Christmas, we have birthdays, we have, right now it's Canada Day weekend. Like there's all the events that are going to be happening in your life that are going to have foods attached to them or around them and how do I manage myself? So if I'm not prepared to answer these questions, it's not time for me to start keto. And I feel like you're probably not expecting me to say that. You're probably expecting me to say, just start whenever. It's better to start. But you know what? It isn't. Here's the thing. When we start doing something, but we're not ready for it, and then we only do it part way, and then we don't see success because we only did it part way, then we feel like it's not working. We feel like failures. That goes into this whole conversation that I know that I used to have with myself of, I'm just going to look like this forever. I'm just going to be in pain forever. This is what my life is. I need to get used to it. But these aren't it was not reality. Like, I found out that what I was eating was causing my weight gain, was causing my pain issues. I learned that my pain issues was actually inflammation caused by the food that I was eating. So honestly, like, I needed to be ready though. Like, it took me 2 months and a half to read and watch as much information as I could to really convince myself, because now I was going against conventional wisdom that says you need to be low fat so you don't have a heart attack. And I was saying, oh, I'm not going to be low fat anymore. Now, let's be fair. Was I low fat no, I wasn't low fat. I was eating a standard Canadian diet, which is high fat, high carb. But we also have the wisdom that says, well, you need to be low fat and you need to be high carb, because carbohydrates, so vegetables, is where I'm going to get all my micronutrients. It's where I'm going to get all the healthy. And all of a sudden, I'm scared, right? Because, well, I want to make sure I'm getting my micronutrients, even though, in fairness, was I eating a lot of vegetables? I wasn't eating vegetables, right? These are the stories that we tell. So because the conventional wisdom is there, I knew the conventional wisdom. Was I following it? Well, not really, but I knew what it was. It was scary to say that I'm currently going to start eating the exact opposite of what I've been told is healthy. I'm going to lower carbohydrates. I'm going to raise fat. Well, now, I actually thought I needed to raise fat, was another piece of the puzzle, is that I didn't understand that all I really needed to do was lower carbohydrates. That's why I had to do the research, right? I had to understand what I was trying to do. And at the very beginning, I was still eating leaner cuts of meat because I didn't understand. And so was doing keto difficult for me at the very beginning? Yeah, I had well, first of all, I felt super hungry by day, I would say 3, even though I was eating quite a bit of food because I was eating low carb vegetables, quite a bit of them, and I was eating lean cuts of meat. So I really, because I wasn't under 20 yet. I would say I probably was like 30, 40, but I still wasn't eating as much energy as my body was used to. And I felt really, really hungry, like really hungry. So we need to be ready to answer these questions. And when we answer these questions, which is what I did, I answered the ones that I was the most scared about. And when I answered those questions, then I was ready to start. Having the answer to these questions is a sign that I did my research, obviously. And it's a sign that I'm prepared to invest in these answers. Like, I'm prepared to invest in eating this way because I searched and I found the answers, but it also means that I'm prepared to try to overcome these issues that we talk. So how am I going to eat out with other people? Like, I have some kind of idea of what I'm going to do. What kind of foods can I put on my plate? I have some kind of idea of what I can put on my plate. So I believe that when you're ready, you're going to know that the purpose of keto is getting you keto adapted, so fat adapted. And that's going to take work, right? And you're committing to doing that work. See, I had to commit to doing the work. And when I committed to it, that's when I was able, on April 18th, 2018, when understanding this is what it is, that's going to heal my hip. And eventually it healed everything. But I thought I was only thinking about my hip. This is what I need to do. This is how I need to eat. Like, I had commitment going on. Now, this topic that we're talking about today came up because I got an interesting comment from Existential Gamer 9206. And she said that keto worked for her because she doesn't have to think about it. But she does remember trying it years before. So she had another period of time in her life where she tried it. And she was in her own head about it because she was wondering, how often should I eat? How can I find keto substitutes? What if I buy regular butter instead of grass-fed? What's going to happen? Will I fail? And all kinds of stuff like that. Because she realized she wasn't ready. And she realized it was okay she wasn't ready. But today, she's been keto and she's doing it easier because she doesn't even think about it anymore. And why doesn't she have to think about it anymore? Because she realized that you don't make real changes until you're ready. Now, at the beginning of my journey, even though I did all that research, I still wasn't ready to let go of the standard Canadian diet. I remember making keto replacement breads, cakes, cookies, pasta, and I tried to make my keto life look like my standard Canadian diet life. And guess what? It didn't work. It did get me from a poor diet to a better diet, but it kept me chasing and I could see it happening. Like I would make these things, but then I would eat them first of all, but I would eat them more than I should have been eating them. So if I'm overeating keto treats, am I pushing myself out of ketosis? Probably. If I'm overeating keto treats, am I keeping that sugary, like, reliance that this is what makes me feel good thing happening? Probably. Well, actually, not even probably. I know it was happening. I saw it happening because I was overeating the stuff and I was wanting to make the stuff and I was making the stuff regularly. So cookies, peanut butter cookies especially, became part of my meal plan. And why are peanut butter keto cookies part of my meal plan? Well, because I needed the sweet, right? So I realized at some point that I started to feel not great again. And I realized that I was chasing these things. And I started to put a lot of space between when I made them till I was finally able to stop making them. I believe that was about 2 years ago. But that was, again, like, so let's be clear. Did I reach my weight goal? Yeah, I did. I reached my weight goal in 5 months. But was my brain still focused on food and thinking? And so going back to her saying, I don't even have to think about it. My brain was still focused on food and cookies and when am I going to make this and that and, oh, the cake for my birthday and all this stuff that, replacement pastas and all of this stuff that allowed me to still have nightshades. So that was before I figured out my nightshades thing in my life, right? Because I'm making this replacement pasta and then so I'm making pasta sauce. So I was still having tomatoes at that time. And eventually by taking these other chasing things that were very likely, that's why I'm so sure that I was being pushed out of ketosis with those things because I don't really believe that I fully got myself, like all the pain gone all the time, like no, nothing until after I took everything out. And well, the tomatoes. So I stopped making replacement pasta was one of the first things I stopped because I figured out my nightshade piece of the puzzle. And I had to let that go, right? Because you have pasta with spaghetti sauce, right? So I had to let that go. And it was hard for me to let it go. But eventually I did. So when we learn what foods we're supposed to be eating, what foods are healthy for us, what foods help us to feel good, what foods help us to stay on track with, first of all, our good health, but second of all, mental clarity and better ability to rest, better ability to build muscle. All of these things are so important. And when I stopped trying to figure out a way to make vegetables the way I like, so another thing I had to figure out, right? When I was doing a standard Canadian diet, the only vegetables that I ate were French fries and carrots. Those are the only vegetables I ate. The only fruit I ate were bananas strawberries and kiwis. Do we see? Oh, and if the strawberries weren't sweet, I dump sugar on them. Do we see a pattern? The only things that I ate for fruit were the very most sweetest of fruits. I ate one sweet vegetable, which was carrots, and then French fries, because who doesn't like French fries? And of course, you're going to put ketchup on it. Okay. When I started to feel better, when I started to really focus on what foods really matter, when I understood for real, with no uncertainty, that the vegetables that I put on my plate are for fun, I stopped trying to figure out ways to force myself to like vegetables. Since I never ate vegetables prior to going keto, why do I all of a sudden think this is the key to me being healthy when all the stuff that I was still learning, because I never stopped learning, I have not stopped learning. I continue to try to learn about keto because it's important for us to keep learning. Because, first of all, the medical profession only knows like so the tip of the iceberg of what our body is and how we can help it. And I'm not in the medical profession, so I have a lot more to learn. And I will keep learning. And that helped me to see when I found carnivore people like, well, Dr. Berry became carnivore, and he was one of the first people I found. Dr. Baker is carnivore. And there's other people that I found along the way that are talking about how healthy it is to eat meat, and that we don't actually need the vegetables because the animals have eaten the vegetables and then we're eating the animal. It really helped me to understand that the vegetables that I put on my plate are for fun. And so therefore, I should only eat the ones that I actually like. And it turns out that the vegetables that I actually like was broccoli, cauliflower, and cabbage. And the fruit that I actually like, avocado and olives. So since it's the protein and the fat that actually builds my body, that's where I put most of my attention. I want you to understand that even though I barely pay any attention to what I'm going to eat, when I do pay attention, I'm looking at what protein. That's my main focus. If I put a veg or a fruit on the plate, I do. So 5 days out of 7, I don't eat any vegetables or fruit. And I'm okay with that. So just by understanding that information, the fact that fructose is actually very harmful to our liver, which also helped me to stop forcing myself to try to like vegetables, the fact that I never ate them on the standard Canadian diet, so why am I forcing myself to eat them on a keto diet? All of that helped me to realize I don't need to force myself, and that was a relief, and it's helped me to lean in to eating the foods that I actually like. So, what are you doing? Are you trying to keep your diet looking like it used to look? I'm encouraging you right now that you don't have to start keto right away. If this is new to you and you're just finding this, I'm encouraging you to take the time to do the research, to really understand what you're getting yourself into, because yo-yo dieting is just bad for us. It's bad. And I think a lot of the times we yo-yo diet because we jump into something without fully understanding what it's supposed to do, how it's supposed to help, and then we get stuck there. And I can tell you that eliminating fake bread, cake, and cookies helped me to stop chasing carbohydrates altogether. I don't miss them at all. And it's really funny that often I have no idea at all what I'm having for supper until moments before it's time for me to cook. And I would just like look in the fridge, see what's available. Like, what meat did I take out for the week? Whatever is left, I make it. Like, I'm so not fussy about the meats that I'm going to cook because I only buy meats that I like. So most of my day, I'm not thinking about food anymore. And what a relief that is. I think, I love the mental clarity. I love the energy that I have that allows me to go climbing with my daughter and, longboarding with patting the kids, and I'm riding to work now, which I said I was going to do, although last week it rained all week, but I did do the first week. Like, I love the fact that I have energy, and if there's an opportunity to go and do something, I take it. I love that. And I love the fact that I don't spend time wasting thinking about what I'm going to eat today. Now, I'm going to be fair. I'm going to be honest. I think about coffee. I think about tea. I don't think about food, right? And by the way, I started making nitro coffee again. I'm not sure if I mentioned that when you asked me the question last time. Why do I make nitro coffee? Because it tastes fun. It's really fun to make, and there's no sugar in it, right? It's just a flavor, right? Sometimes I have normal coffee. Sometimes I have a nitro coffee. The food in my life is a source of energy and building blocks for my body. And that realization has helped me to maintain my healthy weight for the past 5 years now, 5.5. And that's the longest I've ever maintained my healthy weight, Wellness Warrior, for the last 20 years, right? So before I had my daughter, I was at a healthy weight, had my daughter, weight came on. And in the last 20 years, I've not been able to fix my weight and then keep it there, except for right now. It's the first time. And guess what? I'm actually confident that I will continue to maintain my healthy weight, something that I was never able to say before. And I'm able to say it because I love what I eat. I'm able to say it because I'm consistently eating what I love. I'm able to say it because when we travel, I know how to judge these other foods that are in front of me to figure out, what can I put together that I'm able to eat? And another piece of the puzzle is that if I don't find something that I'm able to eat, I'm able to eat nothing because my body still has fat on it that it can dip into. And so I don't have to worry about it. I'll eat tomorrow or the next day, because sometimes I do 5-day fasts. Right? And I want you to see where knowing what I'm doing and being comfortable is why I was able to start and never stop, because I knew what I was getting into. I knew it was forever. That's another piece of this puzzle. I knew it was forever. So when I started, I knew I wasn't going to stop. I haven't stopped because this helps me to be able to sit here in front of you feeling good, feeling comfortable. It helps me to be able to do all my activities. It helps me to know, not just wonder, but to know that in my future, I'm going to be feeling like this. In my future, I'm going to be playing with my daughter well into the future, my grandkids, hopefully, if she ever has any, or the boys have any. I want to be one of those grandparents who can get down on the floor and play with you. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was on the path that I was on. These are such important things for us to think about, because if we don't think about them, if we let ourselves believe that our health has to look horrible because that's what we've been taught, because that's what the medical profession says to us, that, yeah, your health is just going to look like this because that's what your health looks like. That people, you get older, you get sicker. That's how this works. And I'm not saying that when you get older, you don't have a decrease in health, because that would be clearly false. But does the deterioration have to be as fast as it's been? And I think that's the lie. We are made to believe that we're going to deteriorate at the rate of speed of light. Like you are not going to be able to eat anything. You have to eat garbage, and then you're gonna be eating garbage forever, and therefore by eating garbage forever, you're gonna look horrible. And you're gonna gain weight. You're gonna have wrinkly skin. You're gonna have all the negatives that happen in our older age. Can I tell you that? And I feel like I'm rambling right now, but I just want to say this too. I was so shocked when I realized that my skin got tighter. So in my history of being on the planet, most of the time you see that as people age, their skin gets looser, right? Like you get loose skin, you're saggy. Like this is what I remember like thinking about old people, right? And I lost weight. And when you lose weight, you end up with loose skin. And my loose skin is not as loose. Like, and so you're going to say, oh, but you're putting on muscle. Yes, that's reality. I did put on muscle recently we started climbing in March. And since March till now, I put on a little, not that much. I mean, look at me. I still look pretty much the same, but I could tell that I'm a little bit stronger. However, my loose skin was clearing up before that. And like, I saw it happening. Now, is it perfectly clear? No. And I'm also saying that I see that I have less loose skin on places where I haven't actually put on muscle as well. So like if I look at total body, we are able, and our body is able to help us clean up stuff if we let it clean up stuff. So one thing that I've been doing is allowing myself to fast, like I said earlier. And so not only do I do like 23-hour fast because I eat one meal a day, but then I also let myself do those 5-day fasts twice a month. And I've even been playing with the idea of bringing back so every other weekend fast, or even like a 48-hour fast, like once a month or twice a month. And the reason is I wonder if there's more cleanup I could be doing. So again, I'm at my stable weight. I'm not trying to lose any weight. It's not a goal of mine to lose weight. And when I do these fasts, I'm not like, I quickly get back to my normal weight because I go back to eating normally and my body restabilizes itself. Right. So if I lost 5 pounds, I try never to lose more than 5 pounds. There's another reason that like I'm not ever past 5 days, because the 3 things I'm looking for is, am I feeling hungry? Am I feeling any other signal that might say it's time for me to start eating? So like not feeling healthy. And did I get to that 5 pound mark yet? If I get to 5, I stop, because I'm not trying to lose more weight. And if I lost 7 pounds, would I be able to put it back on? Probably. But I feel like, again, I don't think yo-yo dieting is healthy for us ever to do. So I don't want to go down more than it would be normal for me to see that movement in my normal life. And in my normal life, can I see a 5 up or a 5 down? Sure, I could. So I think in a 5-day fast, going down 5, reasonable, but I'm not going more than that. These are rules that I have for myself, and I use them to guide me because I really want to make sure that I'm paying attention to my health more than I'm paying attention to something that's not really important, right? And I feel like sometimes we let ourselves pay attention to things that aren't as important as being healthy. Thank you for watching. I'm going to be live next Monday, so I hope you're going to be back 11:20. Have a nice chat about something interesting. If you have ideas for that chat, please put it in the comments. Actually, I also want to let you know that this month, so starting July, I'm opening the doors to the Wellness Squad Captains for people who want to really focus in and learn how to be healthy. If you want support in being healthy on your keto lifestyle, this is going to be the group for you. They're Zoom meetings, so they're interactive. We're going to be talking to each other. I'm really looking forward to seeing and talking to you. Spaces are limited, so it's going to be going live in the next day or so. So if you want a spot, click the link that's going to be in the description of this video, but it's also basically wellnesssquad.com. You can go there, wellnesssquad.org. I keep saying it wrong, wellnesssquad.org, so that you can join us and we can have a real conversation and help you to stay on track. Talk to you I'll talk to you on Monday. Thanks.